Hey Kendra, Shawna here. Alrighty, so let me read your question. So it's Shawna Karrasch here with another Ask Shawna answer. And Kendra's question is, I have a pony mare I'm teaching to drive. She does excellent with all the long lining work with an open bridle. After a couple of sessions in a closed bridle with blinders, she starts to lose her confidence and become anxious and reactive. I have not hooked her up to a cart in an open bridle and have only hooked her to the cart with a closed bridle with a professional's help. She has not had any accidents with the cart. She has never done this with her previous owners. How can I help her build her confidence with a closed bridle? Okay, I think this is an excellent question and a really good solution can come through the positive reinforcement training, I think. Because I think one of the greatest things about the positive reinforcement training is we create good emotions and we build a lot of confidence. So I think, and kind of by the nature of it, it helps us to break things down into smaller steps, which really does bring clarity and help them to feel more comfortable in knowing that they're doing the right thing. So what I would do is if you haven't already, do the positive reinforcement training with a couple other things. So teach her about the clicker, that they are a bridge signal, whatever you want that to be. The clicker is a great way to go, especially when you're going to be a little bit further back. I would then shift to a verbal bridge signal, but if you can, I would use the clicker or maybe a whistle as a bridge signal. So if you need your hands free, using a whistle will help because we put these little plastic tubing on it so you can actually grip it in your teeth and still do things, it's not too hard to hang on to. It's a little tip from the marine mammal days when we use whistles all the time. We put little plastic soft tubing on it so we could grip them and still talk to each other. Like we're smoking. Anyway, so teach her a bridge signal. So you have a way to communicate to her the things that you like and the things that you want. I would then teach her about a target. And what I recommend is you spend, if you haven't done this, so you may already be beyond this point because your question didn't say if you are or not, so I'll just have to cover it just in case. But so teach the bridge signal. I spend 8 or 9 sessions doing the bridge signal. So I either do it 3 times a day for 3 days or twice a day for 4 days. They don't have to be all in a row if you can't get there, but they're just like 3 to 5 minute sessions. They're very brief and short, but it's the repetition that helps. The reason I do not go to the target before I get the bridge signal worked out is because there's some very important components to the bridge conditioning that we don't want to miss and we don't want to lose. And one of them is it builds in relaxation. By design, the way we do it, we want to be building in that relaxation, and we want those manners to be so strong with the relaxation that's almost like a default behavior. So if they start getting tense, you can just stop beside their shoulder and they go, and relax and keep my head to myself. And so it's a really good decompression tool. It's a very good impulse control tool that we can build on, and it helps give them clarity and gives them a constructive thing to do. Instead of coming up with stuff to do, they think, settle and relax. So please don't shortchange that process. I think it's really important and beneficial. I think we do a disservice to our horses when we skip to the target too fast. But there are situations where sometimes I need to go to the target if I have a really aggressive horse or something that even using over the fence wouldn't work, whatever it might be. I might then go to a target. There might be certain situations where I do, but by and large, I try not to shortchange that process. It will be really strong, but we want to kind of overtrain it. So relaxation is good, and this behavior becomes their favorite behavior, and the manners are good. In addition to being sure that the clicker or whatever bridge signal you want has a very high value. So it's significant to them. It's been effectively conditioned. Then I go on to the target. I spend the same amount of time with the target. It's overtraining the target, but I want them, I start at first just touching it. Sometimes you have to go low to touch it and hold really still or whatever it is until they're touching. They love it. They follow. They're really good with it. Again, it is overtraining it a bit, but I want the target to be their best friend. I want them to look at the target and think, I love the target. Where's the target? So I don't skip that process, and like I said, I do it for 8 or 9 3 to 5 minute sessions, just like I do with the bridge conditioning. Okay, now that that's all done, the next thing I would do is teach your behavior too. They're just fun and easy. Like it can be going to a stationary target. It can be picking up their feet. It can be a stay. It can be, all sorts of little things that you can do that you can teach them to do. And that the reason I say to go there first is because where we're going to go with your little gal, I think it was a gal, is the next place we're going to go is going to be a little bit of a challenge because it's going to be a little bit nervy for her. I'm checking, is it? Yep, it's a she. it's going to be a little bit worrisome. So I want to be sure that the training is pretty solid with a couple things. She's learned to problem solve. She learned that she loves this process. She loves this game, and that she doesn't feel, if we go too soon to something that might be aversive, we can kind of poison the whole process for her, where she just thinks, I don't like it. We're starting, that clicker thing means we're going to this place that's scary. So I want to make sure that she's strong with it, she likes it, and she understands some problem solving. And the target's the beginning of that, because there is, it's a little more operant in its asking them to do something and solve some problems. So once we get those things worked out, the next thing I would recommend doing is then making sure she's comfortable with the bridle, with the blinders being put on. I would take the reins off, I would take everything off, and just teach her about wearing it and giving her comfort when she's wearing it. But I'd watch very carefully for those signs of over arouser, going over threshold. So if she kind of starts to look just a little backy off, or a little bit big-eyed, or her head's a little bit high, I would read that and say, I don't know that you're comfortable with this. So I would then build each of those things with positive reinforcement. So I would say, hey, can you touch your bridle? You can. Good. Click, reinforce, 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 reinforce. Can you do it again? Reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. Can we put it on? Okay, reinforce, reinforce. Till she sees the bridle and she's like, yeah, okay, I love that. We're good. Now, I think it's the bridle, and I would see if there's a difference between one bridle and the other. But clearly, once it's on, the blinders then become where she can't see, and it's fearful for her. And I know that a lot of driving, it is, kind of a regulation, and you really kind of want to have them for safety. But what we want to be sure is she's really comfortable with it. So what I would do is I would put the bridle on, and even if you can just even attach it, it doesn't have to have a bit or anything. It can just be the noseband and the blinders. And she has that on. And what I would do is immediately, after she's really good with the target, have the target right in front of her. And the target a foot in front of her. So she can clearly see it right away. And she goes and touches it. You reinforce her, reinforce her, reinforce her, reinforce her. And then maybe do it again. Reinforce her, reinforce her, reinforce her, reinforce her. And then I'd probably leave it there. So what you're trying to do, or even put it on and feed her. But you want to make sure there's a certain amount of comfort first. Because if she's worried, you don't want to leave it on her at all. So I put it on her for just a minute, say target, yay, and it's very easy. You're going to be reinforcing her in two ways. If having it on is a little bit worrisome for her right now, you're going to be reinforcing her by saying, just pay attention for a minute, settle, work, and we're going to take it back off. But hopefully as you've gone through the process of putting it on her and asking her to accept it, is she okay with it? Are you okay with it? Will you make this choice? You've gone a long way towards giving her a voice and giving her a choice in it. And she is going to tell you when she's ready. I would only move to the next step, whatever that little step might be, when she is completely nonplussed by the step before. So just because you can get the bridle on her doesn't mean she's comfortable with it. So you want to look for her to be a participant. We're good. When she looks really soft and relaxed, bridge and reinforce, and then move on to having her touch the target. Very, very simple. Just go ahead and touch it twice, moving forward with it. That's all, or even poking her head forward. And then when she starts to get it, I would start to move it from side to side. So she learns to kind of look for it without fear, that she kind of realizes. And then the first way I would do it is where it kind of goes out of her vision, but your hand and the stick she can still kind of see. So she goes to look for that end of the target. And then when that's good, then I'd pull it back the other way. So she can kind of see it going that way. She can follow it, bridge and reinforce. Again, I'd keep them very short, very sweet. And what I'd look for is relaxation. Hopefully by now, with her letting you put the bridle on, participating in it, she's going to be more relaxed with it. But the movement and moving in it may feel not the same comfort. I would also do it in the place where she is the most comfortable. So if she is comfortable in a certain arena or in a stall or a certain field or a certain whatever, sometimes indoor arenas or someplace where there's not so much outside to feel like she has to keep track of, it can help her to first learn that she does have more control and help set her up for success. And then as she goes through that and she gets more comfortable, then you can take her to the bigger places. But in the very beginning, I wouldn't move forward, like I said, with the next step till she's really comfortable with the step before. So when you first put the bridle on her, she should be like, well, I'm pretty comfortable with this. And the moving maybe then be her little bit of worry. So I would not look for much movement, just the head, and then maybe a step, then two steps, and reaching this and this, and spread it out over time. So Everything they do is a choice they make, and they're going to choose a thing with the strongest reinforcement history. So they're either doing something to get something they want or to avoid something they don't want. And so her fear is probably, a bit, to her, it feels like that is going to serve her. For whatever reason, she's expressing how she feels, which the fear is less of a choice, but that nervousness and that worry is a bit more of a choice. So as we can build her confidence and help her to learn to relax, she can truly relax and see that it's not so worrisome. I would take it very, very, very slow, because you really want to make sure she's confident in that bridle before she goes to the next step. And like you said, she was quite comfortable with the people before doing this, or she did it anyway. It doesn't mean she was comfortable, frankly, because sometimes they'll do things because they feel obliged to do it. And once we start giving them a choice and a voice, sometimes they say, I'm not so comfortable with that. Well, that doesn't mean all is lost. It means now we can go about it. We can look at the information they give us at each step of the way and see when they're comfortable, when they're not comfortable. And however long it takes, I recommend you take and build that time. And if for some reason, because it may take a long time depending on, on her a little bit. And if it really feels like she isn't accepting it, which I think she will, but if it's really accepting it, I would consider if there's some other options you can do. But I think you'll be able to help build her confidence. I know that I worked with a lot of horses where you can put a tarp on their head. They can't see anything. And at first, though, it's just a tarp and a tunnel, and you'd have them target and target and target, and that was good until they would be okay. And where you could just put a target underneath, and they just kind of walk after it and learn that it's okay, that they're comfortable, and they can listen to you, or they can hear your voice, and they'll come to you. And so you could definitely get them more comfortable with something that might be fearful. It's just recognizing that threshold and staying below the fear threshold so that she can make those choices and feel like she has a voice in it and she can express herself. And one of the things that can happen is flooding. And flooding is when people do things and they just kind of keep them in that situation and they don't feel like they have control. They may stop physically reacting, but a lot of times inside they're still just as reactive, and they can actually go on to being, where it can actually, with flooding, you risk, instead of desensitizing, which is the goal, you can actually sensitize them not only to that situation but to other things, so you can make your horse more skittish, more worried. So that's where I really recommend going slow and listening to her and watching for her, and giving her the target is a little bit of security. It's something she likes, something she knows. It gives her clarity, and it helps to create a little bit of that movement so she really kind of realizes she can function like that. So those are the starting blocks where I recommend you go. Please keep me posted as you move along, because as you may go along, you may hit another roadblock. It may go great. You may just, whatever it might be. And like I said, you might be doing the positive reinforcement already. I'm not 100% sure if you've done it with her or not. So you keep me posted and let me know. Anyway, so I'm here to help you kind of through the process. I'd love to hear an update, progress report, which would, no matter which way it goes. And so if anybody has questions, you can reach me at askshawna.com, shawnakarrasch.com, or on-target-training.com. Each of those should take you to my On Target Training page, which has an Ask Shawna tab where you can submit the questions. But for those of you who don't know about this yet, we also have connectiontraining.com, which is a great place to learn about the training, and it is we have home study courses there, which is really to help people learn to get the foundation right and then to troubleshoot through some issues and to take the principles of the training to the next level. I always tell people, this is science. Nobody made this up. This just is. So what we're trying to do is help you to understand it. As with any training, you can get it wrong, so we want to help you to get it right. That's my public service announcement. Anyway, so Kendra, keep me updated, keep me posted. I'd love to hear how your little pony is doing. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.